The Life Finder keeps Maiev up. It was going to be a close thing.
And healing, what? Get out of, no! No!
Triple stun again. Big flanks coming out from the Blaze.
It's a death metal, though.
Death metal into the double, triple kill. Welcome everybody to the stream. I am Ziltoid, your host, ready for a doubleheader tonight for Wholesome Halfwits. And the first matchup's going to be against Sky5. They were the home team. We got the coin flip, went in favor of Sky5, so they went for first pick. Wholesome Halfwits banned out Braxis and Sky Temple. Sky5 took out Infernal Shrines and Towers of Doom, and we will be starting our match out in the most generic map of the of NGS, which is Infernal Shrines. But there's nothing wrong with balance. I'm totally behind it. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's take a look quickly at the A division standings. We have Sky5 sitting at number 2 and Wholesome Halfwit sitting down at number 4. So this should be a decent matchup between these two teams. Wholesome Halfwit's looking to see if they can pick up some extra points here so they can secure themselves in a spot in the playoffs, as they have gone pretty much even at 9 wins and 8 losses. But as everyone else is kind of sitting in a similar situation, a win here could be huge for them, but it's going to be at a very big attempt here, given that Sky5 has looked almost unbeatable in a lot of their matchups up to this point. So it'll be interesting to see which one of these teams does come out on top. I am excited. I hope you're excited. And we should be getting into the game here almost right away. I bet you they're just waiting on me for the most part. Which is fine. I just wanted to get everything out of the way, and I am ready. Ready. So just giving all of everybody the what's up, and here we are going into the Infernal Shrines draft. Let me adjust my camera, make sure everything is set up properly. We can see how it's going, and now make sure I have all the teams actually set up appropriately. Let's look at this team. Spoticus, Apple Mike, Quan, Finnegan, Allen by default, and Furl. And that is exactly what I have in sitting here. And so we should be able to set this up actually quite nicely. Looking at the statistics, let's go to popularity win rate. Let's see what we're going to get for the first ban here in the match. Wholesome Halfwits has been running a lot of non-traditional drafts this season, which I think has been a bit of a good thing for them. And will be one of those kind of X factors that I'm looking for to maybe see if they can pull ahead of a team like Sky5, who, like I said, has been quite dominant in all of their previous matchups. Just taking a look at Sky5, I think they've lost only one set, and then they dropped the map. Dropped a map to a few loose screws, and they lost a set to Regen Retro, which is actually kind of a surprise. I would say Regen Retro is another one of the kind of middling teams. So Sky5 definitely could lose here if Wholesome Halfwits bring something interesting to the table. And we're going to see Chen banned out as well as Anna. And I think that those are two very good bans. Let's actually bring out and see what Chen has been doing in Division A so far, because I'm actually quite curious to see what the stat says. 70% win rate with the 28% popularity, 7 KDA. I'd say that that's pretty significant. Something we definitely want to see picked up more often, and that is why it's going to be banned. Anna was, of course, also banned. I'm curious to see what her win rate is. 50%, 71% popularity, so doing well in the statistics there. And let's just swap this over to the pick ban and win rate. And Zool is actually very interesting to me, as it's I think something that's been growing in popularity, but I don't think it's that big. But it's enough for Sky5 to be wary of it, so they're going to go ahead and ban it out and make sure that there isn't any kind of this double soak cheese that can occur. And on a map like this, it's definitely not something that you want to deal with. Zool actually, I think, is a very good bruiser these days. Hard to gank. Fantastic wave clear right from the get-go. It's great from point 1. So a lot of other ones tend to kind of match up a little bit later. And Johanna is going to be our first pickup. I'm going to bring out the Johanna stats here, because I imagine that she is probably the most popular tank here in NGS. 50% pick rate, 45% ban rate. That's a 95% popularity and a positive win rate. So not a bad pick up there. We're going to see Johanna coming out on Spartacus the tank. Very good tank player for Team Sky5. And that was followed up with the Tyrande and Imperius. So already the question mark of where Imperius sits in the meta has still been kind of a thing that we've been trying to kind of figure out since the changes. Overall, I believe he actually got maybe a little weaker, while other ones, but not because him himself is weaker, but I think just because certain heroes popping back into the meta, namely things like Irel, actually do tend to throw a little bit of a thing in there. So, but I like G-Money Drums. I think he's a fantastic player in that off lane. On the other side, we're going to see Alan by default on Stukov. I think that's actually a common pick for him. And I don't have to change anything. Quan Finnegan's going to pick up the Sylvanas. Probably the top ranged assassin here in the league. And now we're going to get a Rhaegar ban. Just looking to eliminate that Apple Mike Rhaegar off lane support. That has worked out actually significantly for Sky5. I've seen them do it already before, and also trying to remove some of the more double support shenanigans. The Uther gets banned out, and I think that's also a good play, and Wholesome Halfwits is known to play that. So actually we're going to bring up some of those stats just because Rhaegar, I think, has a really good win rate right now, 30% popularity, which is actually quite high. With the 59% win rate is actually quite good. And we're also going to take a look at the Uther here because I think that also has probably an insane stat. Yeah, there we got it. 1% pick rate, 1% ban rate, but it is 100% so far. And we're going to see actually Dr. C. Jelly. Cieli, I'm not entirely certain. I'm sure he'll correct me at some point today. Tyrael is going to be the one that we get here. And I think that that's a good replacement for Uther. He doesn't have the stun, though, which is something that you like, but he does have sanctification, which is quite good, and great mobility, and I love this pairing, too. Imperius Tyrael is actually a good pairing. It's one of the ones that I actually enjoy quite a bit. And Raynor, of course, is a fantastic player. And you know what? The Raynor pick is very good into Tracer, but this is a very odd draft coming out from Sky5, where they're actually going to be putting Apple Mic on the Tracer. I think that I've seen this before in the sense that he only really plays Rhaegar and Tracer consistently. I don't know if that's 100% correct or not, but I do think that is a thing. And we're gonna get Kerrigan out of Crooked Smile, and I like Kerrigan. I think she is very good on this map. And you know what's really good about the Kerrigan pickup into this matchup here is that there's not a lot there's not a lot of CC. A lot of damage, but not a lot of CC. And I think that that's a significant point to make, too, as well. So here we are getting to game number 1 on Infernal Shrines. Please shout out in the chat, who do you think is going to come out on top in this matchup? And I don't know. Draft-wise, I do actually really like Wholesome Halfwits draft. I think it's actually quite good. I think the Kerrigan Tyrael pairing is classic. Adding that extra bit of engage plus stun does make up for the kind of weakness of Tyrael's early game in the sense that he doesn't have a good engagement tool. I think that Tyrande as follow-up is also a fantastic pickup and really enables the picks because that Hunter's Mark is going to find a lot of these squishy targets and eliminate them quite easily. As long as the combos are landing onto things like Stukov, they might have an advantage. But instead of ranting on any further, let's get into the game itself. We are on the blue side, Wholesome Halfwits, the home team, looking for game number 1 victory. Dr. C. Jelly on the Tyrael, Freckle Pants playing Tyrande, Neutrons on the Raynor, Crooked Smile on the Kerrigan, and G-Money Drums playing the Imperius. And on the other side, we have Sky5, Apple Mike on the Tracer, Spartacus on the Johanna, Quan Finnegan on the Jaina, on the Sylvanas, Furl on the Jaina, and Alan by default playing the Stukov. So one thing I do have to say about Sky5's draft for sure is the fact that they have a ton of damage. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, they don't have like a traditional offlaner. I think they're maybe going to stick like maybe Sylvanas up there, but I'm not entirely certain about this draft or kind of the thoughts about it. And given the fact that we do have Kerrigan engagement plus all of this single target damage available and not a lot of great single target save tools on the side of Sky5, draft-wise, I do think that there is definitely an advantage here. And we see the first stun coming in, but it doesn't actually land on Deferral. He kites it away, and Apple Mike putting a lot of pressure on Dr. Cieli. So really, in the beginning, opening phase of this fight, you'd actually say, I think, the advantage goes slightly to Sky5 in that exchange. It will be Tracer going up against Imperious, and I'm super curious about this matchup. I don't really know what to think about it. I think Tracer's okay, but if she gets hit by stuns like that, you know, the thing about Imperious is he can dish a lot of single target damage. So, and here's a bit of an engagement going. It's going on to Johanna, which is the target that I don't want them really to be focusing too much on. And they did miss a full lane of experience here, so Sky5 interrupting that rotation very well in this matchup. You know, I think since the opening handshake, the plays have been going in favor of Sky5. They're just little things, nothing to get too excited about, but enough that I think, you know, I really would like to see Wholesome Halfwits see if they can find some kills here. G-Money Drums does escape over the wall. That was a Tracer pulse round, but that's the thing about Tracer. She can build up that pulse round very quickly, and she gets it from level 1. So it's always a constant threat. It's always going to be putting pressure onto that top lane. And Imperious Wave Clear is not going to be very good, so he's going to be sitting by the wall for a bit. Quan Finnegan is actually going to rotate up here, and we're going to see Tracer actually swap out. I imagine this does, in the end, come down to the fact that Tracer doesn't have very good Wave Clear either, so there's no way to get, like, a significant advantage in that way. And the dueling is still somewhat in his favor. Whereas Sylvanas can kind of play back a little bit safer. She does have her E that's up more frequently that she can dodge with. So, you know, it's really odd for me, though. Like, I just don't traditionally see this kind of lane matchup. So it's hard for me to really give you any good insight into what to expect here in this matchup. But the rotations are still in favor of Wholesome Halfwits, and I think that might allow them to get a little bit of an experience advantage. They do lose, I would say, probably about 3 to 4 minions in the mid wave there, and that's a little bit of a boost. So, 2 camps, though, going to the side of Sky5, 1 camp going to the side of Wholesome Halfwits. They're going to come up and into the mid hill, clear this up, as Sky5 had to make the rotation into the bottom lane to make sure that's cleared up. And we see this 2-man focus here in the top lane on Imperious. And that's kind of, I think, a net gain for Wholesome Halfwits, is basically, if you have to commit 2 people to him in the top, that's fine if you're getting a gank, but if you can't kill him, then there's really no point in putting those players up there. And it really just makes the rest of your team kind of weaker. 10 to 4, we are going to see the initiation start to come in. It's going to come onto Crooked Smile first. Apple Mike going in deep, but misses the pulse bomb, and here is the Imperious flank, and that's going to be a real problem because that's a follow-up stun into Kill. Tracer is popped. She goes down, and we're going to see Spada gets the follow-up, and there's no front line here any further, and I think that's going to have to be a given away objective here. We see Sylvanas doing her best to kind of poke at this, but it's a scary situation. Yeah, exactly. If she hadn't kind of pulled away when she did, that could have been a kill. So I do think objective is going to go in favor of Wholesome Halfwits here now, as Tracer and Johanna are just now starting to get back in. Now, they may have noticed that Wholesome Halfwits does not have a full squad up here, but they are significantly ahead. So another fight here on the Shrine, especially 7's almost created, and I like that a little bit of macro play by Wholesome Halfwits. Should allow them to be able to secure this. Only 4 more skellies have to go down, and that shouldn't be too particularly difficult in this situation. We also did get Untouchable Tracer, which I think is a risk, and we're going to see a kill onto Stukov, and here is kind of punishing that low mobility of Stukov, and the fact that we don't have a strong front line, and that's going to be another follow-up kill onto Jaina, and the early game pick comp that we have from Wholesome Halfwits is really getting the kills, and that's going to be another kill right there, right over the wall. Crooked Smile finding the Tracer, getting the kill, and that's going to be a dead fort. 5-for-0 in kills so far. And my earlier predictions of this draft being somewhat a pain for Sky5 to deal with, and not just mine, but also Ryokai with the hashtag WH saying that the draft is superior, seems so far to be paying off. But let's get into the later game. You know, Tracer comes on at 10. Jaina doesn't really come on. Well, I mean, Tracer doesn't actually come on until 16, but you know, Sylvanas doesn't really come online until 13. Well, yeah, I mean, at 7 she does with this build. I'm concerned, and I think this is an okay build because it's not like she's going to have a lot of time to sit there and auto attack. There's so much quick aggression and burst damage available from this composition that it's a little bit risky, and Frill needs to not be standing there. I think that that is a risk within a risk here with this wave pushing in plus the camp. It's definitely a situation that that could be a death. So Stukov comes down here just to make sure that she doesn't get engaged upon. Crooked Smile can eat a couple of shots from the fort. They're going to continue to buff up this Cosser camp, but it is going to go down, and that's a half a fort basically in damage. And look at this, G-Money Drums really pressuring this top lane quite well. The Bruiser's going to push in, and that is going to be able to get a front wall quite well, actually. But the Bruiser camp is taken, and I wonder about this strategy here, mostly because the Bruiser camp is not going to be available for the next objective. And that could be problematic. They're going to come over here, though, after they saw the rotation go out from Wholesome Halfwits. And they're just going to pop down here into the bottom lane and kind of clean up this camp. G-Money Drums now still back in the top lane, dealing with the Tracer. And, you know, kind of the question about this build, too, as well. So Tracer rounds instead of Pulse. The one where you smack people for a reduced recharge rate. Untouchable, risky if you're not getting kills. And if you're in the off lane poking at an Imperious, those kills are not going to be coming anytime soon. And Spatial Echo, which really requires hero takedowns to get those resets on the blink, which might be problematic if you're not killing anybody. Tracer is going to make the rotation in, but so is Imperious as they're looking to make something happen here as the front wall did go down, and that is a good stun onto Quan Finnegan. He might die here. We see a good Ring of Frost, though, and that is going to be a huge turnaround by Sky5. And there I am eating my words as that's going to be 5 kills. And that's 5 stacks of Untouchable for Tracer. So ye of little faith, what a good turnaround. That engagement was coming out. It was going to land. And unfortunately, they didn't really get the good chain CC onto Quan Finnegan there, and that's going to just turn around to get the kills. So Bruiser's pushing into the top lane uncontested, but Jaina is definitely going to make the rotation up here and just try to clear this out. We do have kind of a flip around, though. Like, that engagement definitely changed things around. The silence into the... or Ring of Frost into silence, more like into Blessed Shield, was a lot of lockdown and a lot of ways to get kills there. But this is the arena of Wholesome Halfwits. They definitely want to fight on the Shrine. They still have a half a level before 13, and they're going to pressure this as hard as they can and try to force this fight to come out before 13's hit. Tracer getting into the back line, putting a pulse round onto Neutron. Neutron's just going to heal through it. Crooked Smile is super low. They're going to see if they can try to pull them into a bad situation, but both Freckle Pants and Neutrons are very low. We see Jaina, though, getting pressured there by the Imperious Kerrigan combo. Sanctification is going to drop to see if they can actually secure the kill onto Sylvanas. And no one else has died yet. 13s are almost in place. 1-for-1 trade, but health bars are definitely in favor of Wholesome Halfwits, and the Shrine is so far in favor of Wholesome Halfwits, so the engagement has to come in here, but there's no engagement tools left over, except for the fact of finding them just kind of sitting there on the Shrine and kind of putting the pressure in. Tyrael does go down, but he's going to get the last kind of minion out of that, and that's going to be another objective there, going to the side of Wholesome Halfwits, but it was not a clean victory by any means, and actually losing Tyrael in that situation really kind of nerfs any chance of them to be able to push up onto the objective here. So Sky5 playing this very well. This is a Mortar Punisher. It should be cleared, but I do think that with the wave coming in, unless it gets proxied, which is very good, it's probably going to still get this fort, but here you go. You got the pull off of it. The mortars are, maybe they're going to land enough to be able to get it. No, not quite enough. So still, while we have a level advantage, a slight kill advantage so far on the side of Sky5, and a talent tier advantage, there is obviously a huge structural advantage here on the side of Wholesome Halfwits that can't be ignored. They're going to come down here and snipe out this keep, but I do think it's a little bit risky now that we're getting a bunch of the slows plus a shield under neutrons. He is in a big trouble. I don't know if he's going to be able out of this, but there was no follow-up damage outside of what they already had. And it looks like Jaina's going to go down. This is getting turned around. Kerrigan is on the back line, and there is nothing that they can do about it. If they got that kill onto Tracer, though, things are absolutely a problem, as those 7 stacks of Untouchable are not going to matter much. But Tracer does manage to be able to kite herself away, but it looks like Spartacus here is now in trouble, and that's going to be another bit of the swing of momentum in this game. Yeah, Spartacus is going to really kind of draw that one out, and I think there's arguments on both sides of whether that's a good or a bad thing. You know, if you die faster, you respawn faster, especially if you know you're going to die. So sometimes making those runaway plays, unless you know you can get away, probably not worth it. And so we're going to see Wholesome Halfwits go for an aggressive play here, realizing that they did have map control and they do still have a hero advantage. They're going to see if they can steal this Bruiser. Now, it didn't go very fast, but there's just no one in place to really make a deal about it. Apple Mike looking to see if he can find a flank there into that position, but decided against it, which is probably the wise decision. Bruiser's going to push up here on this fort, but it will be cleared up nice and easy. It's really denial. It doesn't do a whole lot. If this fort is down, then it actually pushes into this lane, but with the fort up, it doesn't really do a whole lot. But Wholesome Halfwits not afraid to fight. Let's pull up the damage statistics too as well, so everybody can see. Spartacus looking for a flank position, but G-Money Drums is positioned nicely to make sure that that does not happen. Next shrine is going to be in the mid lane, so for the swap between this spot and this spot so far this matchup, it has not gone to the top lane yet. Or wait, yeah, I don't think so. Here's comes the engagement. Huge 4-man Ring of Frost. Might actually be what they need to get the kills, and that's going to be a kill onto Tyrael. But Tyrael is going to land a huge death thing, and he does not quite land it, but he does kill a ton there. Apple Mike and Allen by default just barely getting out there. That was the craziest turnaround I've seen in a while, where it was a 4-man Ring of Frost, but the problem there, I think, was that Jaina was unable to get the damage out that she needed. And actually died pretty much first from the counter damage there. You know, I guess Tyrael died first, but yeah, I don't know. Something about that fight means that she couldn't get the damage where it needed to be, and that was going to be the reason there was no further kills there. And another good, well-won fight for the side of Wholesome Halfwits. We are at 8 stacks, though, of Untouchable, and that's pretty good. You know, 30% damage increase, especially when she gets to 16, can be pretty significant. G-Money Drums having to drop his Angelic Armaments not to die. He's going to drop the Angelic Armaments damage to see if he can get a kill. There goes the engagement from Crooked Smile. There's another Ring of Frost, but Sanctification completely negates it, and there goes Johanna, and Tracer dies, which means there goes the stacks. All of that work, all for nothing. You'll never probably get another 8 or 9 stack on Untouchable for the remainder of this game, unfortunately. Bruiser's going to easy clear this, and Wholesome Halfwits, macro, team fight, everything so far looking to be going in their favor. That Sanctification was extremely well placed, and they're just going to stall this out, and I think that that's the right play. They'll make the rotation into the mid lane while the bottom camp pushes up, and that's going to continue to apply additional pressure macro-wise into the bottom lane. I don't know how much value it'll get. Is it still just a Khazra camp? But they do more damage than Siege Giants. So there goes the Punisher leaping over the side. I believe that this is a frozen Punisher, and that means it's not going to take a ton of damage from this. And there's a rooted onto Sylvana. She could be in trouble. The engagement does not quite find her in time. But that's the thing about frozen Punishers, is they don't take a lot of damage. Like, if they're not taking tower or keep shots consistently, they just don't die. So that is going to be mid-keep gone. Exactly what they were looking for on the side of Wholesome Halfwits. I'm sure if they could find some kills that they were looking to see if they could get a little bit more. But things like Sanctification and Hyperion, well, I think Hyperion was just used. But things like Sanctification aren't up, which means that fighting into Ring of Frost without the Sanctification, as we've seen so far, is a very scary thing to do. But there it goes anyways. A Ring of Frost only landing onto Kerrigan. She's going to be kept alive. We actually got the pull stun and kill onto the Jaina. And that's going to be another kill for Wholesome Halfwits. And Spartacus does not quite make it away. Raynor finding the way to get the kill. And if they get the kill here, that is actually a big problem here. This could be the end of the game. Sanctification was used. So they're not going to use that to burn this down, but I don't think Tracer has what it takes to really stop this from being a significant issue. We don't have lock and load. We do have sleight of hand, which is still a good... No, that's a dead Tracer. So, and this is going to be game number 1 going to Wholesome Halfwits, taking on the number 2 seed and actually making it look really good. Well done, Wholesome Halfwits. Game number 1. So there are your end of game statistics right there. Raynor at the top with 40,000 damage, although it wasn't quite as good as the Sylvanas at 43. Great siege damage from the Sylvanas, but it really was, in the end, all of that pressure being applied with that that early game pressure was good. They had some good answers for it, but when it got into the late game with Sanctification, they just became a real problem to find kills. And was turned around on them. So let's pop over here onto the other side so everyone can see the talent pickups. It's pretty much standard, I think, of what you generally see. Here the Swarm to add more shields. Kinetic Fulmination for the extra damage. Boundless Fury. I don't know if that one is the... I don't know. I think actually it is. It gives you the multiple hops, plus Unbridled Energy at the end. You don't see a lot of Kerrigan, so it's nice to see this. Plus Imperious, if you're not aware, this appears to be what everyone likes to run. I think there's a lot of synergy between Sovereign Armor, Flash of Anger, and Celestial Swiftness, so that's a good build. Anyways, I'm going to pop us to a break while we set up game number 2. We'll be right back, folks. Welcome back, everybody, to game number 2 in this matchup between Wholesome Halfwits and Sky5. Wholesome Halfwits, with a very good draft, comes out with a nice victory here on Infernal Shrines. And we will instead be going on to our next map, which is going to be Volskaya. It appears that Sky5 has opted for first pick. So this is map pick for Wholesome Halfwits. And here we are in game number 2. So the ban phase went interesting. I do think that the off-lane choices was a bit of a problem. And I'm hoping that they have a different answer for this, as I do think that the double front line made it so that they were able to survive through a lot more. And the fact that Sky5 didn't have those things, we're not executing off of the combos of damage because of the pressure being applied by those frontliners, and the fact that they were soaking up a good portion of the damage made it really difficult for them to find the victory that they needed in those situations. So that is my take on it. But who cares what I think? In the end, I could be wrong. I'm sure there's plenty of other things, but it doesn't matter. Game number 1 is over. We are in game number 2. Hopefully we're ready to go soon here. I mean, it was sort of impressive with the Tracer in the mid game there, able to get up to 8 stacks of Untouchable, which was nice. But again, always the issue is, can you get it? There we go. Ready checks are all out. Can you maintain it throughout an entire game? And I think that there's a lot of pressure on a Tracer player to pull that off. But we're going to forget about game number 1 and move into game number 2. Here we are on Volskaya Foundry. And let's always see what we get for the picks and bans. So yeah. No problem. Alrighty, here we go. So Tyrael is actually going to be banned out. I can't remember if I actually brought up the Tyrael stat. They definitely did not like having to go into that 2% popularity rate, 5 KDA, 50% win rate. Do the pick ban wins, just because I think that's maybe a better stat. Especially for things that don't have a lot of damage. KDA is interesting. And Chen again, we don't really need to show that statistic. Anna was already shown last time too as well. And Garrosh is going to be the interesting pickup here. Perhaps it's something, a draft that they've seen them play on this map. Garrosh in A has actually a pretty good win rate, 11% pick rate, 6% ban rate, which is about a 17% popularity rate, period. But with a, I think, 69% win rate or something like that is pretty good. Spartacus going to come back onto the Johanna. Again, strong hero, not a surprise. And we're going to see Sylvanas go to the other side, though Tyrande is going to be maintained, and that will be Neutrons picking up the Sylvanas here. Stukov is going to be the pickup again by Allen by default, and Farrell is going to stay on the Jaina. So very much the same draft we saw in the last round. I guess we'll see what the flexes kind of are coming out. They did have they had Sylvanas in the first rotation last time, not Jaina. That was swapped around a little bit with the fact that Wholesome Halfwits picked it up, and they are going to go for the Rhaegar ban again. So I'm curious to see if that continues to put Apple Mike onto the Tracer. I mean, Tehran's just an uber strong hero. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. Tehran is just really powerful. We're going to see the Zul ban. Again, afraid of that double soaking capability, that lockdown that he provides. Just don't want to see it. We're going to see Crooked Smile on the Phoenix, and G-Money Drums on the Thrall. Thrall definitely does well here. And wins a lot of offlane matchups. And they might not even put him in the offlane. They might just stick Phoenix down there and have him run around to get Crash Lightning stacks. We'll see. And Cassia Sonya is going to be the finish up here. So Apple Mike is going to pick up the Cassia. A little more traditional draft here, and I think that that's perfectly fine. So there's your Cassia. No bans, 7% pick rate, won quite a few times. ETC is going to be the final pickup, and it's quite surprising how far down the draft he actually made it, as he's been pretty popular in NGS since the nerfs to Anubarak, who was not even considered in this draft. Opting more for the Johannas. But Sonya's gonna pick up good camp clear, good siege, decent end of Thrall. I think these drafts are a lot more neutral into who tends to have the advantage. I don't think it's as, for me, it was kind of clear cut who I favored. In this matchup, I'm less certain, but I will argue that I do like Sylvanas on this map in particular. Without further ado, let's introduce Wholesome Halfwits looking for a 2-0 domination in their first set of the night. Dr. C. Jelly on the ETC, Neutrons on the Sylvanas, G-Money Drums on Thrall, Frecklepants playing the Tyrande, and Crooked Smile on the Phoenix. And on the other side, in the red, we have Sky5 looking for the Equalizer, Spartacus on the Johanna, Quan Finnegan on the Sonya, Allen by default on the Stukov, Apple Mike playing Cassia, and Furl on the Jaina. Opening handshake, non-issue so far. Dr. C. Jelly seeing if he can get a little bit of damage there onto the Johanna, but kind of a moot point in most of the situations. It will be Thrall going down into the bottom lane, and at that I imagine he has Echo of Elements. This is probably the appropriate way to lane this. Phoenix has that ability to kind of do both and can pressure Sonya pretty well. A lot of pressure coming out onto Dr. Jelly, but not enough to really secure a kill, especially single target damage into Loon's chosen Tyrande in the early game. Probably going to be difficult. We're going to see Quanfinian make the rotation, though, in to see if they can apply the pressure that they need to find a kill here in the early part. And Sylvanas is going to poke out, and that's going to be that. So Jaina going to clear this up. But I think he's going to die. In fact, that power slide into the Tyrande follow-up. No Echo Pedal to, you know, mess up that combo means that it's a dead Jaina. And first blood goes to Wholesome Halfwits. Starting off the game nice and strong with an early pick. It will give them rotation advantage. Will give them camp aggression advantage if they want. But I think they're just going to use the opportunity for Thrall to sit here and grab this. Phoenix was probably going to go bot to see if he can soak up the experience. I wish he would have made that rotation more fully. Going to leverage that kill experience to sacrifice a bit of lane experience. Which you can totally do. That's a fair trade. Sorry about the yawns, guys. I don't know. I got incredibly tired here in the last few minutes. Hopefully I can perk back up, but my lack of caffeine consumption these days does not help in that area very well. Dr. Jelly, though, walking into a bush, but it is an ETC, so face checking a bush is kind of what he does. And can get away from it as they don't have a lot of good lockdown options. Yet again in this matchup, I'm going to point that out. That the one thing I dislike about Sky5's draft really is so much of their CC is dependent on Jaina slows, Stukov silences, and Blessed Shield. And Blessed Shield's their only major form of initiation, at least at this moment. Midwave is going to get pushed in, and they're actually going to lose a couple of those minions, and that's going to help actually Sky5 get a slight lead here when it comes down to the lane experience. And we're actually going to see Cassia still remain in the top lane, and in fact, they are looking to see if they can get that kill, but he does retreat. Freckle Pants, though, making an aggressive rotation, is now in a bit of trouble as Cassia's going to make the dive. There goes the follow-up stun, though, but I do think that they are going to move in here and grab this Tyrande, but did they go too far? Furl definitely is going to go down. And we're going to see if this exchange goes in favor of Wholesome Halfwits. They are kind of giving up the first objective, though, here, as there isn't a lot happening. G-Money Drums is going to move in here. They're going to put the root onto Sonya. Sonya is low. That could be a problem, actually, with this follow-up power slide, and that's going to be a kill. So 3 for 1 in kills so far. That's a +2 on the side of Wholesome Halfwits. Top lane getting cleared out by Apple Mike. But that is a 95% channel on the side of Sky5, and they will have plenty of time to remount and re-engage here into this objective before the 99% comes up. Experiencing relatively the same. Phoenix coming up to match the Cassia. Jaina in the bot lane trying to clear up. And they're going to initiate right onto ETC. They're going to have to kind of give up some of this as they're going for the camp. It is contested, though, so the conversion does not come through. And now we're going to get our 5v5. But there's a huge item advantage here for the side of Wholesome Halfwits. And I think Sky5 is realizing that that is the case and is not really willing to full commit to this, although they still are poking in. The turret goes down. That's going to help them secure more percentage. And they still have 2 more turrets plus an item, a healing item. And that's a scary situation. The healing item is going to drop, though, as Sylvanas got pressured super hard there after a bit of lockdown coming in. But it is still going to be Johanna that dies, and I think Apple Mike could also go down with that power slide from Dr. Jelly. That's going to secure another kill plus the objective. And the question just has to be, they did get a couple items out of that engagement, which is good, but they lost 2 heroes in the process, and I don't think that was good. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag on whether one did get a good advantage out of that. Sylvanas shutting down the towers, making sure that the Punisher or the Protector isn't going to take a lot of damage. They're going to clear up this wave. He's going to take a bit of pressure here from the towers as there isn't really a major wave here to push up onto it, and that's going to take time for them to do so. They do have 34 seconds, though, so I do wonder if the objective here is being a little bit overfed. But as you know, the big thing was, let's get 2 walls down, maybe pressure down this. The thing about the protector is it just doesn't really put a lot of pressure, and if you push in too far, you put your backline at risk. So it's not all that big a surprise that they don't want to maybe too full-on commit to this, although we just see the shutdown from Sylvanas to try to put in a little bit of pressure into the fort. There goes the power slide past Spartacus. It didn't quite land, but it still looks like he's going to die, and that's going to be a Earthquake into Purification salvo. It's going to be enough to kill the Feral, and that's going to also be Cassie going down, although they do trade out Sylvanas for that kill, and now the wave pushes up, but that is a huge advantage for Wholesome Halfwits. They are taking the lead in this match, significantly so at this point. 8 kills to 2. They're going to steal this camp away, put a little bit of pressure onto it. There goes the silence pool, but it's really just going to help them clear this out, as there's nothing that they could do with it. Sonya and the bot lane doing their best to try to push up this lane and get a little bit of siege damage, as they know Wholesome Halfwits are busy into the top lane. 10s do come through, and that is going to be what I was wondering we were going to see. Leap to help set up Ring of Frost. So that's going to be turret camp there for the side of Sky5. We are down to only 1 healing item for Wholesome Halfwits. But now they are 1 healing item and a turret. Sky5 makes a 5-man rotation to the top lane to clear that out, just making sure that they don't get rotated on, but that is going to cost them, I think. Now, Sigeli is getting engaged upon. There goes the Blessed Shield. It misses. Ring of Frost also misses. And that is 2 massive heroics that are completely not available. And that's just going to mean Wholesome Halfwits gets to push in here, and Apple Mike making a bad rotation is going to cost him his life. And I wonder if Wholesome Halfwits here is just going to find a 2-man mosh pit, plus that combo of Earthquake into Purification salvo. It's going to put an absolute ton of damage here onto it. They might be able to actually kill this Alan by default. And there it is, Thrall making the kill. The power slide not hitting onto Quan Finnegan. And I think we're going to see a 5-man rotation here from Wholesome Halfwits. They're just going to come down here and clear out this fort, set themselves up for the 3rd objective, and I think that this is the appropriate play. 2nd objective is really risky to guarantee any type of end game off of it, so you might as well just try to prep yourself up for the 3rd objective, because you're almost certain that that's where it's going to go, even if you do win this next objective, and they do have the advantage that they need to do that. 2 items to none.
It's time, control the terminal and bring in the protector.
13 to 12. 1 saving grace, though, for the side of Sky5 is that they will have their heroics available before Wholesome Halfwits. They're just going to leave Tyrande on it. Front wall gets cleared out. They're trying to see if they can snipe the well, but it does not quite happen. And wary of the rotation from Wholesome Halfwits, I think they were hoping to pull everyone off with that play in the mid lane. There's not a whole lot they can do. Grabbing those towers is great. That helps them, set up maybe potential 4th objective, and helps them get a little bumps of experience they need to kind of equalize things. Sorry, Sigeli being engaged upon by Sonya just uses his Echo Pedal and casts them away. The ETC just making sure he's not in a precarious position. Too many drums lands a huge root. That's going to be a Purification salvo into Earthquake, but it is going to be Sonya or Sylvanas that dies first, although Feral did not make it through, and all of this damage coming out from Crooked Smile is too much to handle. Looks like they might be able to pick off the Alan by default. And Cassia is also behind enemy lines here in a bit of a spot. She might be able to trade out against Phoenix here. That is a scary situation for him. He uses this warp to stay alive and reposition to get the kill. Thrall's gonna just push up this mid lane while they secure the 99% protector. And, you know, it's one of those situations where you might as well just take that, protector down top lane, because there's really nothing else on the map to really bother getting. You don't need to get the bottom. Wholesome Halfwits already cleared that out. So you might as well just push out the top lane and see how much you can get out of it. With 2 dead, you probably can put quite a bit of pressure here, especially with the lane pushed up. Wave will be returning here in a second, and they do have a catapult, which is going to be quite nice on this aggression here. So they got to be careful, though. The engagements behind can be tough, but they do have 16s, and that's going to allow them to be able to put a lot of pressure here into this top lane. Sylvanas shuts down the keep. There's going to be an engagement there from Wholesome Halfwits. Ring of Frost comes out, but it only lands on the Protector, which of course does nothing. Sylvanas' Black Arrow's trait is down, and that is going to be the end of Protector, and that's going to be the end of the aggression in the top lane. But that's a significant amount of damage to get from it. I mean, like I said, before it would have taken it. Nowadays, it's not going to, but unless you get kills off of it. But they overextend here, and Quan Finnegan might actually be in trouble. There goes the big Earthquake to see if they can maybe get the Purification Salvo. It only lands onto Johanna, so the flailing swipe there from Stukov does a good job to make sure that they don't die. There's the Blessed Shield and re-engagement onto 2 into the backline, but it is going to be Jaina that falls. But I don't think that Sylvanas is going to live through this, and that's going to be a kill. Apple Mike is going to go down as well, so it's a 2-for-1 trade. Phoenix just doing a lot here and getting all the trade outs that they need, and that is actually going to get the kill. Look at the amount of damage that he's done so far in this matchup. 45,000 damage so far is actually quite significant and has been doing a very good job. And that keep is gone. And that means win condition is available for the remainder of this game. Top lane is going to be constantly pushing, and with the bottom objective the next place to go, this is a good, really good position for Wholesome Halfwits to be in, is that they can continue to apply this pressure. If they get this camp during the next objective, it's going to push while they try to contest into the bot lane, and you can bet that they will try to contest the bot lane, because that last Protector could cost them the game, potentially. Now, games ending on the 3rd Protector is not a for sure thing as it once was, which people make arguments as good or bad. Kind of depends. It also means that it's not a great comeback tool the same way it used to be. I mean, it's great to get it, and it prevents you from losing, and it does help get the start the comeback. But in the past, if you got the 3rd Protector, you could a lot of the time use that to turn the game around. There is going to be a Blessed Shield into a leap, and that is going to be Dead Phoenix, and this is the first good engagement that we've seen now from Sky5 into a 4-man mosh pit, and there is nothing left to stall this out, but there's no damage either, as Spoticus was doing a very good job on keeping neutrons from auto-attacking the members inside that 4-man mosh pit. And now this is actually where the turnaround might be coming in. They are going to be able to push this up. They should probably grab that camp, as it's going to be stolen if they don't. And yeah, that was the first really good initiation from Sky5. And taking down that fort's going to be nice. That'll set them up for the 4th objective, as they really need to look at playing the long game here. This is the thing about Volskaya. These games can get super long. We're at 15 minutes already, and no one is in a significant lead. They are going to be able to snipe this well. They probably won't be able to snipe the keep, though, or the fort. But I may be wrong, and actually they do have very good siege damage. And they don't have Wrath, but it's good enough. So things starting to even up. Top lane is still a problem for Sky5, and that is where they are behind. But outside of that, things have kind of evened up a bit. 20s are also nearly available, and actually G-Money Drum's in a bit of trouble here. He does get hit by the Silence Root, and I don't know if he's going to get away, because the leap comes through and finds the kill. They drop a turret, and that is big trouble. Now there's another Ring of Frost into a kill here. I'm pretty sure Phoenix is going to go down, and what was working for Wholesome Halfwits previously is starting to look terrible for them now. And that was a huge follow-up team fight. They found the Thrall, they got the slow route into silence, and that really initiated things. The leap helping finish off the kills, so people can complain about leap all they want, but sometimes it is definitely the pick, and in this situation it has been. Sylvana's going to do her best to try to get out of dying here. They're going to dive under the keep to see if they can secure the kill, and they will. But what will they lose for it? It looks like they're going to lose Spartacus for it. We still have 23 seconds on Tehran, so game is still very much in favor, but did they lose also a bunch of turrets for that? They did, so I don't know. I think going for that Sylvanas kill was not worth. They lost a lot more out of that than they needed to. Top lane is going to be a real problem. That's 3 catapults already pushed up onto the core. Jaina can only stay here for so long as they're going to have to fight for this bottom objective. So don't get me wrong, Sky5 has made some fantastic plays to get back into this game. And if you're looking for ways to get redemption, this is the way. Sajeli might be a little bit out, but he got his 23% safely, and now the full team rotation from Wholesome Halfwits is here. Sajeli looking to make the engagement happen outside of down here, which I think is right, although he might just be trying to slow them down and getting some more of that percentage. Give Sylvana some time to get back up here, though they do have a bit of an advantage, I think, when it comes down to the front line. Jelly just sitting here in the bush, looking for that ability to flank onto them with a huge mosh pit. And they are grouped up as heck there, and that's going to be a route into mosh pit. It does get stunned out immediately. And that's the problem with opening up with mosh pit. Sometimes it doesn't really work, but this fight is still looking to be going quite heavily in favor of Wholesome Halfwits, as there are lots of low health bars there on the side of Sky5. Really trying to lean on that Sonya. But look at this. 2 catapults, 3 catapults about to hit onto the core. And that's something that has to be dealt with. And that early keep is really paying dividends for Wholesome Halfwits. In fact, even if they die here, they can stall this out long enough and just win through that. In fact, it looks like it's going to be a bit of an issue here for Freckle Pants. He is not in a good spot, and he's probably going to die. Sylvanas drops here as well. But they really just need to stall things out as long as possible. But this fight did not go well, and I hate fighting in this area. But we're going to see Phoenix and ETC perhaps try to split off and get that rotation into the top lane, but it's going to be too late. And it does clear it out. They're going to go for the heal camp, but that's going to be contested. And that 3-for-1 was a huge win victory for the side of Sky5. And it is going to secure them the objective. There's really no way Wholesome Halfwits can muster the forces they need to make that happen, but this top lane is still very much pressured, and it's going to continue to pressure. And Phoenix, though, is in big trouble. I think he's going to actually get picked off here, not playing safely, and that's going to be a kill. These staggered deaths are just costing Wholesome Halfwits. In fact, this is one of those situations where it could very well cost them the game. Now, with this camp and catapult pushing up into the mid fort and the fact that the wall is already gone, do you just take the protector there? Look to see if you can end off that. It does pin you into this position here, as you don't want to be stepping into this or this, but there's such a distance between here and the core that honestly I think the mid keep might actually be the better way to go. Sonya just going to apply pressure. They still have to be mindful of their own missing keep in the top lane. They're going to pick off the well, and they're going to see if they can put the pressure in. There goes the power slide, but that root silence onto Thrall is going to cost him his life, and things going from bad to worse for the side of Wholesome Halfwits. If they lose another hero here, this could be the end of the game, and in fact, it kind of looks like that is what Sky5 is hoping for in this situation, that they can grab this keep and maybe push through, but the protector is very low, and despite the kill, it's kind of a risk here to go for the core. Does look to be what they're going to do, though, and I'm just not entirely certain about this, but it is a 4v5. They do have a catapult. Wholesome Halfwits are not exactly stepping up to stop this from happening. So Jelly's going to go heal himself back up so that they can maybe find a way to get in on this. Finnegan, though, getting stunned, silenced, dead, I think. He is not going to survive through this, although it looks like the Purification Salvo was interrupted. So he's going to have another opportunity to get another one here, and it looks like that is what he's trying his best to do. Finnegan dropping super low. Disengagement coming through, though, and we have more catapults on the core here in the top lane. That's going to be another few percentage, actually. Quite a few percentage. For Wholesome Halfwits, and they're going to just chase this down and get the kill, actually, and that is big. Getting the kill onto Apple Mike there is actually huge. Finnegan is still very low. Spotic is trying to get away. That's probably the last swipe in Stukov's hands. No, I think he might still have one more. But that kill could cost them here a large amount. Midkeep is probably going to go down, though, on the side of Wholesome Halfwits, so things really need to happen for them right here and now. They're looking to see if they can grab this camp. So Yeli is really low on mana, half health. Sylvanas gets picked off, though, and that is not a good situation to be in. So there goes the engagement on to Phoenix. They're going to see if they can turn this around. There goes the Earthquake. Purification Salvo is not up to combo. They do kill Spoticus, though. G-Money Drums trying to do his best to get the pressure in. Jelly getting focused by the Sonya, but it looks like they're going to kill Finnegan. And the Thrall is the one that actually pulls it through, gets the kill on the Jaina, gets the kill, the root onto Sonya, and they get the kill onto it. And that's going to be Wholesome Halfwits taking a nail biter. Game number 2 into a 2-0 domination. Now, first matchup was definitely a bit of a close game and was not by any means one person. That's a good kill, though, by Apple Mike. That's going to help slow this down, but I still think that we're in a situation where Phoenix can easily chew through this core before anyone can do anything to him. I assume he has Indestructible as well, which is going to keep him alive in those situations. No, he took secondary fire. Okay, that's no problem. Well, GG. Sky5 dropping 2 Wholesome Halfwits in a 2-0 domination. And that is a wrap. Fantastic play there by Wholesome Halfwits. But we got to say, game number 2 was an absolute nail-biter. That could have gone either way. Kills definitely in favor of Wholesome Halfwits. They had such a commanding lead in the beginning, all the way to the point where they took that top keep, but then they just started losing fight after fight after fight. And that really cost them. But that top keep paid dividends in the end and was able to pressure that core down to a point where they could go for the end of the game after getting those kills after that long chase in the bottom lane. And that's the thing about early keeps. Late keeps, yes, opening win conditions, but they don't necessarily end the game for you in a lot of situations, whereas that top keep put so much pressure onto the core, it was almost as certain that it was going to get it. I mean, the question is, are they the second best team, though? I don't know. Rewind is a very powerful team as well. And they get to play them next, so we'll see how that matchup goes. But Wholesome Halfwits definitely coming through and showing what they're made of, and that was a very good set. I was quite impressed. So let's switch things into the interview phase. And let's switch out the logo. Oops. So we'll just wait here patiently.
Howdy.
There they are.
We almost forgot about this.
Yeah, I figured we might as well get it through as you guys, while I am casting your second match, there's no guarantee that you're going to win that one in a 2-0 victory. So we'll see how that goes.
Ryokai ain't ready for this heat, son.
My boy Ryokai might have something else to say about that, but we'll see. You guys showed off in this matchup, though, and I was quite impressed. So, game number 1, draft-wise, I think you guys had the advantage, and I think you executed that advantage quite well. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we're just really good with that comp, and we know the macro on that map pretty well as well, so we can keep pressure on when we need to keep pressure on. And yeah, I'm just waiting to get those bans. I love those Tyrael bans. They're my favorite.
Well, Tyrael's a strong hero in this so far, with a pretty good win rate despite his low popularity. And we definitely saw a couple situations where they got that Ring of Frost combo off, and it made things a little difficult for you guys. But kind of after the first couple, the Sanctification seemed to be pretty much on point, and they didn't really get a good combo after that. How did you guys feel about the no real solo lane choice against you guys in game number 1?
It's something we kind of expected. We did a lot of big scouting. We know that they mostly pick Rhaegar in the off lane. So, and we know that they're really, so from what our scouting was, that they're the only real off lane picks they make is like Sonya and Phoenix. So we weren't too shocked when we saw like Tracer as the last pick. But
yeah,
but
I think it left them very weak.
Yeah, especially into your guys' comp, which is really good about getting chain CC lockdown and good burst damage onto low health targets. In a situation where you don't have another form of CC or another frontliner that can kind of eat some of that engagement, really kind of left their backline vulnerable. But what I was actually quite impressed with was how frequently they seem to be rotating up 2 heroes into that top lane to deal to deal with G Money up there. And I know he's a fantastic offlaner in his own right, but definitely having that kind of lane assignment, I think, gave you guys a lot more freedom in the rest of the macro that helped get you ahead.
Yeah, it's really nice having a good solo laner, because it just makes my decision making a lot easier, and he really knows what he's doing a lot of the time. It's super nice.
Yeah. So game number 1 was clean, so I don't know if we have to talk too much about that. The Kerrigan combos and all that kind of stuff were fantastic. Tyrael Kerrigan classic pairing. Tyrande, of course, which you guys picked up both matches and were allowed to get both matches. How do you guys feel about that in the draft?
Yeah, that was mostly a counter pick as well. We didn't want them to get it in their double healer. And Freckle is just a god, so we give him star players, and he does.
Well, you guys certainly delivered, and taking it out the current number 2 standing team, when you guys were in my division last season, it must feel pretty good.
yeah, no, it definitely feels good. I mean, they're a good team, and we did a lot of preparation and scouting to prepare for this match, so we definitely respected them the whole way. But I'm just glad we were able to pull it off.
Absolutely. Game number 2, you guys had a commanding lead, and were even able to get top keep off the second objective, which is, well, sort of. It was kind of a little bit after that, but in a matchup like that, especially on Volskaya, especially since the changes to the Protector, that must feel pretty good. What do you think, though, started to trigger the mid-game, late-game falling apart there that I saw you guys kind of have?
Oh, we just started to feed. Like I let them, we just, for some reason, as Phoenix, I just walked into Johanna in the mid lane and took a shield to the face, and that's when they won their first big team fight. And then it was just, we were kind of just getting picked left and right. Thrall got picked near the end in mid lane when he shouldn't have. We were just, honestly, we stopped respecting them, and it almost cost us the game.
Yeah. Luckily, we had the top lane pressure to keep them honest all game, and otherwise, I think we definitely they would have won that.
Yeah, getting early pressure off a top lane keep like that is actually quite good, especially when the next objective is into the bot lane. And I think that is core what allowed you guys to be able to turn things around. Although we have to talk a bit about the defense to the bottom lane. You guys were down a man. They went for core. Were you nervous there, or did you feel like they were overreaching at that moment and knew you could turn it on?
I mean, I think we had every right to be nervous. I mean, they could have had that, and they should have had that, and we fed Thrall into that fight too. We're just really not quite sure what allowed us to turn around, because I think that was their point to take it. It was just a little bit of luck and just some decent plays towards the end. But they should have had that. We were pretty confident that they did.
Yeah. We also were very calm at the end of the fight there. We knew exactly what we had to do. I had to get some pressure for a month and push them off of the core, and we ended up doing that, and they ran away, and we were able to put a bunch of damage into them as they tried to run away.
All right, well, it was a very spicy matchup both times, but game number 2 is definitely a very entertaining back and forth, and I'm glad you guys are able to clutch out the 2-0 victory. Let's get a couple shout-outs here, because we have another matchup here in 15 minutes.
That we do. Shout out to Sky5, shout out to Rewind. Ryokai about to get smacked. Shout out to Blizzard Activision.
Yeah, shout out to the team for playing well. It was a shout out to you for casting.
No problem.
Thanks for being at bowl games. Shout out to Boise State.
Boise State.
Thanks for coming, guys, and we'll catch you in the next match.
Yeah.
Yep.
See you there.
Okay, everybody, so that's going to be it for this matchup, but we will stay tuned here, because we will be right back here in about 17 minutes from now as the official start time. I imagine both teams will want to start getting things kind of out of the way and set up right away. I know that I do. So just stay tuned. I'm going to just put us to a will be back screen, as there's no really point in shutting down the stream and kind of swapping it all around, given that we're so close together in these matchups. So please stick around, grab a coffee, grab, a pop, go eat some chips or go to the bathroom, do what you need, and prep up yourself for the next matchup here. Should be exciting between Wholesome Halfwits and Rewind. Stay tuned.